Today we'll be going over E.T., the extraterrestrial, and the why behind the camera movements such as Dolly, Steadicams, zooms, the fun stuff. Buckle up, here we go.
It's Mexico.
We start on a medium angle, step by step. We are teased about Michael's question answered.
What's the matter, Mom?
Before the shot, she's hidden herself by going to the dishes to be away from the audience and her family. She has turned away from us, but now she turns toward us, but she's still cloaked in shadow. One layer has been peeled away. The camera is in a Steadicam, a way to move the camera smoothly. She steps toward us. The Steadicam moves back also, but slower than she approaches. So she steps from a medium to a close-up and into the light. Now we see she is sad. This shot follows the same pattern as a Dolly in shot might. She sighs and then approaches camera, which would be the Dolly pushing in. She stops as the Dolly in might come to a stop, and then the moment gets its own punctuation with her line at the end of the movement.
It's Mexico.
But it's not a Steadicam in. Why is that? The shot is about revealing a mystery, not a buildup of emotional intensity, and the light changing is critical to that reveal, and dollying in the camera is not compatible with that. But also, this scene isn't her scene. Steadicam into a person puts the audience in the emotions of the character in frame. This moment may reveal her feelings, but it's primarily about the mystery being revealed to everyone and their reaction. If you're a filmmaker directing a scene, remember, you can move the characters, not just the camera. Moving characters is cheaper and easier to do than moving the camera. Moving the camera and the characters together makes for a more visually interesting shot. In the next scene, Elliot camps out in the backyard. Elliot at first hears something and then looks up and sees the creature there. The creature appears to come toward Elliot, and slow a dolly into Elliot seems like a fitting move. It's not that the dolly in is from E.T.'s perspective. In this shot, Elliot is clearly looking off camera at E.T. This shot would be totally different if Elliot was looking at the camera instead, wouldn't it be? We dolly in showing Elliot's fear. Like the first shot we went over, we don't see the character's expression until deeper into the shot, after we dolly in to look past the blinding flashlight. At the beginning, the shot is already saying something before we see the expression it's dollying in on. But without the music, the audience wouldn't have enough clues to feel what the dolly in is about until later. Let's also take note of the slowness of the push-in. Although the dolly in isn't from the POV of the unknown creature, the slowness at which E.T. is approaching goes well with the feeling of creepiness that the creeping forward camera feeds into. Again, the music and the dolly shot are working together. We are also pushing in on Elliot's frozen in fear. In other dolly shots, coming to a stop releases the tension, but that's not what happens here. We come to a stop. He remains frozen in fear. The feeling isn't released, and then we cut to another creepy, unsettling shot of E.T. There are patterns in some dolly shots, but that doesn't mean you have to follow them exactly. But in the beginning, the threat of the government was established. And we need to be reminded of that threat, and to show the threat is getting bigger as we approach the climax of the movie. This is a vertigo moment. The camera's lens is zooming out, while the camera is on a dolly pushing in, giving us this effect. It's as if we start in the suburbs with Elliot, family, and E.T., but the suburbs gets further away as the camera zooms out, but our foreground stays in the same part of frame. In the earlier shot of the suburban valley, they acted as if this is where E.T. is going. This move brings us back to the ridge. But then a government guy comes into frame taking pictures of the valley. That government guy must be right next to our camera, moving with the dollying camera for this to work. The person crossing frame drives the frame to the right, where we see the nefarious keysman established at the beginning. We get a vertigo shot again. This time the suburbs is getting bigger as the lens zooms in, but the camera is dollying out, keeping the keysman the same size and frame. This shot increases the intensity and pressure we are feeling from these government guys. Earlier when Elliot was looking for E.T., there was only one guy lurking around in the forest. This shot says they are looking and are going to go into the suburbs by showing the suburbs getting bigger in frame. I think Spielberg might have been trying to do too much with this one shot. I wouldn't recommend doing a vertigo motion and then a reverse vertigo motion in the same shot. Saying we are coming from the suburbs and then are going back in the same shot gets a little cerebral. But maybe you feel differently. Tell me what you think in the comments section. The tendency in film is for an increase in tension throughout a scene or sequence until the tension is broken via a climactic beat. Throughout the film, the government guys have been faceless figures. We've either just seen them from behind, or when their faces are masked in shadow. We've also commonly only seen their hip. In fact, we only know the main government guy by the keys on his waist. This moment changes that. The tense music starts here when the keys show up. Then there are 3 camera movement shots as Keys guy makes his way to the house. The same movement carries between all of the shots. The first is a wider crane shot looking from above following him. It tilts up at the end to emphasizing the progress on the semi-far house. Then we cut. We are closer. His progress through the tubes feels more pronounced. The threat is becoming more immediate. Then we cut inside the tube. Now we're even closer to him. The music is getting louder and more intense. We cut to a static wide so we know where he is when he gets close to the house. The last shot is also not moving as he walks into the house, but because he's approaching the camera himself, it's kind of like an in-the-world dolly move where the character is doing the moving. He looks to the side, then he looks down. This is also we don't see his face yet. Then he gets close and looks into the camera. We see his face. He is no longer a faceless meanie. He is a kind face. The non-dolly shot goes from a full shot, we can see his full body, to a close-up, increasing the intensity of the moment. But then we reach the height of the tension is when we see his face. The lighting in the mask is ominous and the music is louder and more intense. He's never a seemingly dangerous government worker again, but the tension of all those shots, they are all working together, isn't really broken until we cut and Mom stops yelling.
What's the matter with Elliot?
Have you noticed any surface sweating?
This shot not only reinforces 2 ideas, E.T. dying and the connection being severed between E.T. and Elliot, but also intensifies those dangers. Both ideas work together after all. Isn't death the biggest separation and have been set up beforehand? Camera moves are good at supporting thoughts and ideas and showing things are progressing or intensifying, but dialogue is a good way to make sure things are clearer.
He's converting back to normal sinus rhythm.
They're separating.
Yes,
Boy
definitely
and creature are
separated.
separated.
Tension has been sprinkled throughout the sequence, and this is the shot before. It's a slow dolly in on the flower with the music and Michael yelling. The editor overlaps Michael's yelling with Elliot's transitioning to our shot. It would be jarring if the yelling didn't overlap. This is interesting. We start on a close-up showing the intense feeling of Elliot, and then zoom out to another close-up, but this time of the doctors. It's made to feel like a dolly out because the 2 doctors on the sides immediately lean into frame. They've been waiting on the sides the whole time, cutting off our view of Elliot and Elliot's view of E.T. By Elliot being completely cut off from seeing E.T., this shot reinforces the idea that the relationship is completely severed. Even the yell at the beginning of the shot reinforces the idea. It's a strong yell from a strong boy, in strong contrast to the dying E.T. Now it's your turn to be Spielberg, and tell us your thoughts about the why of the shot in the comments section. Elliot has gone outside to look for this creature, and he finds him. They scare each other. Check out the About section to see what movies are coming up next. Subscribe, hit notifications, like, and comment about what movies you'd like to see next or your thoughts on the shots. Thanks for watching.